They say there are 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Well, I'd like to add one more: revenge.
Grief has a way of entering quietly, sometimes through the obvious doorway of loss, other times through smaller cracks we didn't even know were open. In other words, sometimes you don't even know that you're grieving. The truth is, we're always grieving something. The chances are you're grieving something right now. Because life is all about starts and ends. With every ending, there's a new beginning, they say, right? That's why it doesn't always look like tears and funerals. Sometimes it looks like numbness, anger, scrolling through old messages at like 2 a.m., trying to make sense out of something. We tend to talk about grief as if it's one emotion, but this couldn't be further from the truth. In this first episode, we start by defining the feeling, not to box it in, but to understand the many shapes that it takes. This is a timeless series, even though it's inspired by 2025 lives losses. After we discuss grief as a process in few episodes, in separate ones, we're gonna look at specific public figures' grieving process. We're gonna get there, believe me. Welcome to Rebel in Recovery. Grief isn't a single emotion. It's the natural and emotional process reaction to a loss, rather than just one feeling. It's a complex constellation of many emotions, including sadness, anger, guilt, shock, disbelief, and even moments of joy here and there, which we're going to talk about in a separate episode. Grief is the entire process of adjusting to a significant loss. Grief exists because love exists. Attachment exists. Okay, let's go a bit silly before we talk seriously. Okay, remember when Anita died? How dare I? It was Rosita.
Hey, come on, Joey, I'll buy you a new one. All right, we'll go down to the store right now and we'll get you a new chair.
She's not even cold yet.
That process of the shock, Joey was grieving a little bit.
But don't you think Rosita would have wanted you to move on? I mean, you know, she did always put your comfort first.
That's true.
That's making a meaning. She wanted his comfort first. To get into more serious examples, let's say you initiated a divorce after a very toxic relationship. You initiated it, but still, you're gonna grieve it. You're gonna grieve the loss that you had because you lost hope in a good relationship, in love maybe. You lost the person that you were before getting into that experience. The loss of those joyful moments that you thought were true. You lost a lot of things into that relationship. Maybe you even lost a little bit of your health. Let's say you lose a job. You grieve that. You grieve the dreams that you made based on that, the salary, the stable income. Losing a friend, maybe not just to death, maybe they just moved to a different city or a different country. That's a loss of a friendship. The grief that comes after going no contact with your family. That is something that I've been through, actually. Even though I'm the one that initiated the no contact, but it was hard because I lost the hope in a possibility of having a good relationship with my family, right? To grieve is an active process. It's not a feeling that comes and goes or something external that's just there. like the fan or the chair is just there and you'll get to it when you get to it. It's an internal active process. You actively do something. You can see it. You can see grief in your actions. You try to make sense of it. For example, you try to make sense of the loss. That's an action. You try to make meaning. You create art. You talk. You cope through your actions. You do something. Even if you're in denial, you still do something to prove to yourself that it didn't happen if it's possible for you. You say, oh, we just had a fight. It wasn't a breakup. Or we weren't even in love anyway, so whatever. That's right. Denial doesn't mean you deny the event, you deny the loss. The mind tries to reframe. If the event wasn't good anyway, then it's not a loss. That's an active process. The mind is trying actively to deny. Or when Kate Cassidy, Liam Payne's girlfriend at the time, when he died, she keeps on seeing signs that he is with her and communicating through numbers, and his songs when they play in restaurants. She's partially accepted the death, but she's bargaining the loss. In her mind, the mind is trying to say, okay, fine, he's dead. Okay, but I didn't lose him. That's an active process. And notice I'm saying it's an active process, but it's not a conscious process. In almost all of the videos, when I say someone is doing something to achieve a certain feeling, I'm usually not really talking about an intellectual, conscious level. I'm talking about what their mind is trying to do subconsciously. So the bargaining, the denying, all of that, that's the mind trying to do all of these things. The people that finally travel after a loved one's death, or do something they and the loved one wanted to do together, there's a part of them, part of their mind is trying to make meaning. Say that, oh, this death was a universal sign that life is short, maybe, or they idealize the dead person and have them as a guardian angel. That's an active process. They do something. They try to reframe the death, make a meaning out of it, do something to cope with it. All of these are reactions, and each reaction is usually dependent on how the loss happened and who you are, how you are when it comes to dealing with traumatic events. Some losses result in PTSD, and that's what we're going to dissect in future episodes. If all you take from this episode is that grief isn't one feeling but an active process, that's awesome, because from here we're going to walk deeper together. In the next episode, we'll explore how the mind protects us from pain through denial, distraction, and how these moments of joy and grief are a bit different from moments of joy in regular day-to-day life. We'll talk about the bodily experience during grief. We'll unpack anger as a very important emotion in the grief process. And my hope is that each conversation will be a mirror for you to see what is really unfolding within you. So take a deep breath and let this land and tell me, what are you grieving in the moment? And I'll see you in the next one. Let me tell you something. I'm actually still kind of grieving Liam Payne's death. Every time I listen to One Direction music or see his pictures online, I'm reminded that he died, even though I know that he died. But it doesn't make sense. Like, I know that he did, but it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? I'm a millennial. I'm a directioner, believer as well. All of the millennial stuff, right? And yeah, they're very close to my age, so of course I had a crush on them when I was a teenager, you know? And I listened to their music, love them. But when he died, when I saw the news, I was so pissed off at news agencies. I was like, is that how low they've gotten? Like, they're really saying something like that? And then I saw that the video was from the BBC. I was like, ugh, what kind of sick channel would call themselves the BBC, have a fake channel, and put some kind of fake news? I didn't believe it. And later on, when I found out it was actually the BBC and he actually did die, I was in shock. I did not. It still doesn't make sense to me. It does not. You know, like, wars exist, but they don't make sense to me. You know what I mean? The fact that I know that there are, like, people that do kill others. I know that. I know it exists. But it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I understand that there are, like, people who have no remorse, like psychopaths, and I understand, like, the self-defense and all of that. I understand all of that. But it does not make sense. The same thing goes for Liam Payne's death. That's the same feeling I have. I know it happened. I can't understand it. I can't comprehend it. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, see you in the next one.